Well, good evening. I'm Epstein, and here we are with your metal market wrap-up, and this wrap-up is for Wednesday, and we are now at the 4th of December, 2024 at 6:15 p.m. Central Time. So here we are coming to the end of the week. Before I get too far here, I do want to tell you we've got our sale that's coming to an end. The Cyber Week sale, it ends this week, not on Saturday. So you might want to get yourself going on this right now. 50% off any of my one-year subscriptions. You won't get this much of a discount again this year, that's for sure. Complete futures, combo package, spider, everything else that we've got. Just go to irapstein.com. Go to the top left, you'll see the sale listed there. It's in bright green. Give it a click. And away you go. It'll show you and explain everything there. By the way, when you get into the area where the pricing is done, be sure you're on yearly. There's a toggle switch, monthly and yearly. We're only offering the sale on the yearly. And when you put it into the cart, before you ever pay, you will see the 50% show up. At first, you'll just see what our normal prices are. The 50% comes off in the cart once you put everything there. All right, in terms of the news of the day, you're going to get the Challenger Group coming out with their November U.S. planned job cuts tomorrow at 6:30 in the morning. Jobless claims, well, they're going to come out. You know, they've been running around 200, 215. We'll see what they do. Trade balance data hasn't been a very good number part to this. And we get the EI natural gas storage, and that'll come out at 11 o'clock. So today, if you were watching, you saw that Fed Chair Powell took to the airwaves. The New York Times held a symposium. He was interviewed by, I think it's Andrew Sorkin of CNBC. It was a very good interview. It was fun. It was lighthearted. And key questions. Number one, to me, one of the most important questions, does Mr. Powell think he'll end up being a ghost head of the Fed? Because we've heard that Mr. Trump, President-elect Trump, wants to put somebody into the Treasury and make him that. He does not believe that'll be the case. And I agree with him, by the way. Number two, when asked about the economy, adjective to me was the key. I wanted to hear what he said, and he said remarkably strong. He was right with everybody else that, you know, the Fed's not in a race. If it pauses, it pauses. It's pausing because the economy is so strong. They're there to prop up the economy if it's weak. So they're looking for where the neutral rate might be 3%, might be 4%. You've heard me say that I think it's going to take a long time if the Fed can get to the 2% number that they want to. If they can, great. I have my doubts. And that is because I'm looking at what President-elect Trump is trying to set up, and it's pretty interesting. As for what he did today, he named a gentleman to come in and become the new czar, if you will, of Bitcoin. And I'm talking the new SEC nominee that he'll put up there, and the person that'll come in, Paul Atkins. He'll do an excellent job. And he is not a wild card guy. He's very conservative, a fund operator. He's got a very good reputation. You know, Mr. Gensler was combative, didn't want to ever do anything for the crypto people. I know why. I see it. And if you'll remember, when this all began, I told you the crypto market is like I remember commodities back in the 70s. It was the Wild West. And then you had to flush out all the bad players. You don't think that's happened in crypto? You don't think you've got people in jail? You're still seeing people, 60 million, 100 million that they steal and they're going away? It's the Wild West. And as the government wraps its arms around it, it's different than it was then because you have electronics. You can track things so much better. Back when I began, which if you think about it, 1970 is 50 some odd years ago. I got my license in 69. I remember all this. And that's what you see when you see these things happen. The difference today is you can track things so much better. And it's not limited to the United States. In that time frame, money laundering and so on, yes, they've gotten all the good economies, quote unquote, whatever that means, to report, to work out information with each other, to try to get this thing. There's nothing wrong with Bitcoin. So we get to Bitcoin. What did Fed Chair Powell say about it? He said, number one, it does not compete with the US dollar in no manner. What it competes with head on is the gold market. It's the same person, storage of value, they want security, they're willing to take the market risks with it. As for being something that can be used across borders to buy and sell in such a limited manner that the dollar reigns supreme at this point in time. Will it always be that way? Who the heck knows? But today that's where it's at, and I think he gave it a very intelligent way with that. If you saw the ADP numbers and you dove into them, you're seeing a slowdown in the service industry a bit, certainly the hospitality hiring. And here's what's really going on. We're seeing that there's more jobs being put out there with JOLTS, but we are seeing at the same time the hires aren't happening anywhere near as fast. Everybody's slowed down this because, in part, they don't know what this next leg of the economy looks like as President-elect Trump gets ready to take office in just over a month. So it's going to be one of these times where people want to see rather than jump on board. And that's where you're at with that. All right. So in the gold market, I can see it stabilizing, but please understand it's $150 off its high. I know it doesn't feel like that because it's at $26.72, which is a great number. Copper has been gaining on gold recently, and silver has been gaining on gold, and the copper market is very stable. It's not going anywhere large unless somebody gets a feeling of something that China knows and they're going to do at this upcoming meeting, the closed-door meeting that they're having. Bonds and notes are drifting right now. I think you're getting people evening themselves up, whatever that means for the Friday jobs report. But I walk away with the impression, after hearing Fed Chair Powell, there is no bad number on the jobs. If it's a real number that the economy's slowing down, the Fed's going to be right there backing the market up. If it's really a strong number and the economy's staying remarkably well, they don't have to cut. That doesn't mean they're not there if we stumble. Is that a bad thing? I don't think so. When we look at the gold market, we've had one test that came down on a weekly basis, challenging that 18-week average. You came back up from there. You haven't gone for the highs, and you're just staying. And remember, this is a weekly chart of only closes. When we come to the daily chart, remember what I told you. We've just locked in down here, and we don't seem to be going anywhere. The bigger play was you had, after Trump won the election, you had a nosedive, you rallied back, and I showed this in Fibonacci about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago now, to a 2/3 retracement approximately, and you've backed off. The market's base building. It's trying to figure out what the next move is going to be. Could it be sideways action that breaks down again? Why not? It could happen. You have to have an open mind with it. For the moment, the short-term pattern is higher lows and higher highs, back to bullish with today's action. Now, you had an outside day up today. Outside days are super important. What they can do is you were coming down, and prior to today, let me show you what I think you were doing. You had come down, you were making patterns of lower highs, lower lows, or attempting to do that. What were we running against at that point? The 18-day average of closes. And now the market, and by the way, today it hit it again. What the market's trying to do is get away from that. Now, if you look at the lows, and this is so important, of today, it was 26.54.20. If you look tomorrow and you get through today's lows, you're under the 18-day average, so you opened up the possibility of the market going to the next major support in a moving average, which would be 26.24. So I think the pros, if they get the opportunity, they're probably going to try to buy it at that number with a really tight stop to see what happens. The Bollinger Band is further under it, so that's not your support. And your resistance, if you run up, it's 27.25 roughly, just sitting there, 27.2370. Momentum-wise, still flat. Momentum is not leading price. Often momentum leads price. Not doing it right now. It's just drifting. When we come to the gold-silver ratio, look at how the silver is now under the 18-day average. So I make the chart silver because my brain immediately goes with a little bit of it's left. But what is it, Prevagen? That will help me. as you come here and you're coming down, I want to know that silver's stronger than gold. I know that by looking at the numbers, the lower they fall. In a perfect world, I just take my 80 ounces of silver, I get an ounce of gold, or I take my 84 and I get an ounce of gold. But when you're over it and the number's going higher, silver's losing. You got to come up with more ounces of silver to get an ounce of gold. When I look at silver, today was the day I think the bulls bailed. You went up to the Bollinger Band. That's where the markets often stop on the first challenge. The word is often. It's not always. There's nothing always but taxes and death. But this algorithm, if you go and you start looking at what happens when you hit it and you don't get impressed, shame on you. And then you just don't want to believe in it, and that's fine with me. In fact, I like that. When you come down to the lower low, higher high, you're not anywhere yet in copper. Copper said it's through with the break. It didn't say, and it's like charts do talk to you. It didn't say, oh, we've got a new bullish pattern. It's not what it did. It ended a bear pattern, and as that's happening, the Bollinger Bands are doing this. They're taking their arms, they're wrapping it around price, getting ready to take volatility, if they could, out of the market and get ready for whatever China's going to do, and then the reaction to it, what's the next steps for the market. I'm looking at this break in platinum, and I'm looking at the seasonal charts. The seasonals say this will be a false break and that the market should rally back up. Now, seasonality is a wonderful thing. And I use Season X and I use the more research. So there's two of them I use, but really been converting over to Season X because it gives me more flexibility. But what has happened here is I look at that, and the one thing I've learned with all my years of doing this, and I have been a student of seasonal studies, I'm going to guess 40 years. That's a long time. And I mean, I really go back in this a long way. And I've learned you do not buy off the seasonal or sell off of it. You do it when the chart work comes together with it. But if you go prior to that, seasonals, a lot of times they work year after year, but then there's that year it doesn't. You're in there going, and I know what you do. You say to yourself, it's going to come back. The seasonals are there. Yeah, the only thing kind of come back is you writing a check or an ACH today to your account to try to hold on to the position. Not the way to do it, in my opinion. But I look at this and I see what it might do. And then we look at the dollar index. You can see that. My CC cleaner, and that is a product I use to clean up everything, just came out. I guess they get an ad. December dollar index. You can see how the market's stuck at this 18-day average. Don't know what to do there. And when I don't know what to do via the chart, guess what I do? Nothing. But you have something to do right now. You want to make some money? Save some money is really the way to say it, because if you buy from what I'm doing, I'm giving you 50 off. So I guess that's a way to say you can make some money on the subscription, because after Friday, you're going to pay the full value if you want to come in with us. Any 1-year subscription purchase, 50% off. You can pick the spiders, the ETFs, whatever it is, and you will see I've added a new service into this temporarily that talks about lost embedded readings. I'm tracking them, showing you what they could and can't make, and I'll probably do it a month at a time just to show you what they've been doing. I think that will help people. Eventually, it'll be a pay-for service, and no, I'm not making a track record, but when I put out a trade currently, I track it for a bit, and then I take it off. I don't do track records, don't want to be a commodity trading advisor. I don't want to manage your money either. I don't manage money. I want to be able to sit here and not even pick up a phone if I don't want to and think. And that helps me because I'm thinking about the chart action and what it might make. I'm Ira. You have a great evening. I'll pick up with you all in the morning. Watch the other videos tonight. You take care.